Welcome back to WagerTalk TV. We're going to take a look at the Miami Dolphins season win totals. This is a segment where we're answering questions from our Twitter followers. And this question, guys, came from at the original DM1A. And his question was, Dolphins season win total, you can get under 5 wins at minus 140, or you can get under 4.5 wins at plus 115. Now, we're joined here with Bryan and Ralph. Obviously, this guy likes the under in the Miami Dolphins season win total, so it's presenting the big question is, what's the true value of a half a win and a win when you're looking at these season win totals and how they're juicing them?
Took me 3 times to read this thing to find out if you wanted our opinion on the Miami Heat, or excuse me, the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, basically, if you go back historically, teams with an even number, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 16, they will hit that, well, they will tie on that number 20% of the time, basically. So 20% is your push rate on that. So what you're looking for is push rate over or under after that. So basically what you're trying to do is after you push on the 20%, you've got 80% left over. And you have to see if it goes over or under for that. So basically it's the 40% over, 40% under, which is 50 cents. So basically what he's asking, the true line on the under 4.5 would be plus 110 as opposed to minus 140, which is 50 cents. So he's getting 5 cents more value by playing that. But I will say, on the way over here, money's coming in on the under, or excuse me, the over. And Chris was the only book I looked at, Bet Chris, and they had plus 122 on the under. So hold off on that. You make it a better number if you like the under.
Ralph, I'll go to you if you have anything to add to Bryan, or do you actually have an opinion on the season win total?
Well, I knew Bryan was going to talk about that part, so I actually just dove into their season win total a little bit. And, you know, I did the season win strength of schedule based on the win totals. It's only one way to look at a total. But, you know, the thing that concerns me with Miami is, no question, their first 4 games in the NFL is the toughest slate of games out of everyone. And a lot of times when I have a young team like that, it's momentum. You start off slow, you tend to continue going slow. You start off with some excitement, you tend to get some wins. So playing Baltimore, New England, at Dallas, and at the LA Chargers your first 4 weeks, I agree with the under. Then how do they finish the season? Well, their final 3 games, they go to the Giants, they go to the Jets, they play Cincinnati, and they go to New England. Yes, they get to play in the same stadium twice, back-to-back weeks, but you're Miami, and in December, you're playing at New York, and at New England, your final 4 games. That's scary to me. The most telling point is, though, they went 7-9 last year. They were minus 101 yards per game. That translates to a 3-13 team if you break it down in the NFL, because usually plus 20 yards per game on a season translates into 320 yards if you break it into 16 games. So every 20 yards is like a win. So a team that's even on yards would be 8-8. A team that's plus 20 yards would be like 9-7. So really, their record translates into a 3-13 record last year with this schedule. And the most telling part, Miami's close games, those decided by 8 points or less, they had 8 of them last year. They had plus 6. They won 7 of them. They lost 1. In the NFL in the last 12 years, only 24 teams have been plus 6 close games, and 21 have dropped by at least 2 games the next year. So clearly, you get fortunate, you win every close game you have, or go 7-1 in those close games, more often than not, you're going to fall back.
From a scoring point last year, there should have been a 5.22 wins based on that. And keep in mind, Miami's already come out and said they're not looking to win this season. They're looking to build for the future. So as the year goes on, as you mentioned, they start off the season 4 straight tough games. There was a website out there that I was looking at for odds to win the division. This is not the Super Bowl. This is to win the division. They had them at 100-1 to win the division. There's not a lot expected. They're not expected to do very well. And if they do lose the first 4 games, you could see them trading some veterans as the season goes on, playing some lesser-known players.
I think it's them or the Giants are both really regarded right now as the 2 worst teams in football. So you probably have the
Who's the
worst.
Giants quarterback?
Mr. Manning?
And who did they draft?
Not the guy from Ohio State that they should
This
have.
guy there's been
Daniel Jones out of Duke?
speculated as the 17th pick. Yeah.
Well, why did they draft? Let's see. Why did they draft Daniel Jones? Well, let's see. David Cutcliffe was the head coach of Duke, where Jones went, and David Cutcliffe was the coach of Eli Manning and Peyton Manning. Is there any carryover there?
There you go.
ahead.
All right, guys. That covered everything for this one. Again, shout out to the original DM1A, and we appreciate the question. And again, make sure you guys listen podcast every Thursday. Ralph and I, Dave Koken, we have Will Bernacki on the show from CG Analytics, and a lot of times we have special guests come in for the show. Check out the podcast. It's available each and every Thursday. We tape it, and you can find it on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Check out all of the podcast mediums. We'll be back with more here on the WagerTalk podcast, WagerTalk TV.